What is up, my beautiful galaxy babes, and welcome back to my channel. Today I am bringing you my March and April book wrap-up, and I didn't get around to doing one in March simply because the month just completely got away from me, but also because I didn't read a whole lot of books in March, so I just figured I could wrap everything into one from March and April, so here we are. Let's just get right into it. I am going to be pulling up my Goodreads here to remember exactly which books I read, and then I will tell you guys as well the star ratings that I gave each book and a little bit of my thoughts on it. So the first one that I read in March was the first Alumni Files book, which is called Alumni, and that one is by Amy Kaufman and Jeff... Was it Jeff? Yes, no, Jay Kristoff. And Alumni, I have to say, I don't have the book with me because I borrowed it from the library, but I will post a photo right here. And this book was probably my favorite read of 2018 so far. It just completely pulled me into its world. It was just, oh, it was so good. The way it was formatted was fantastic. Those of you who have read it before know what I'm talking about, the way that it looks like. It's just a bunch of files kind of compiled together that tell a story, and it's really, really cool. I never really thought myself to be one much for sci-fi, but this was so well written, and the action and everything was just so well done. High praises to Amy and Jay for this particular book. The whole series was really good, but this particular one was definitely my favorite. So I might as well mention the fact that in, March and April, I did finish the entire Alumni series. The ending of Obsidio wasn't exactly up to par for me. Like, it was good, but I know I'm not the only one that didn't really... I guess that was expecting more from the ending of that trilogy. It was really, really good, but it was just, it built up to this amazing thing, and then it wasn't quite exactly what we were hoping it would be. It was still good, but the ending wasn't completely up to par in my opinion. I still gave the book 5 stars because it was still amazing. Gemina, the second one, was fantastic. Absolutely loved it. So definitely the first 2 are my favorite. Obsidio is good, just not as good, although it still deserves 5 stars because it was very well written. So moving on, the next one that I read was The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien. You guys all know about The Hobbit, basically, if you're book nerds out there. I remember reading The Hobbit many years ago, I think when I was, maybe in 8th grade or beginning of high school or something, and it had been quite a while since I had read it last, and I was doing a reading through Middle-earth kind of challenge with a couple other people on book Instagram, and it was awesome to have discussions with other people who were also reading the book and to relive all of that. Basically, the world of Tolkien, Middle-earth, was just, it was fantastic. Even though I remember reading it like a couple years ago, I didn't remember a lot of the details of the book because I feel like when I read when I was a little bit younger, I didn't really take it seriously in a way. I just didn't really pay attention to like a lot of the little details or whatever. So now that I have a proper appreciation for reading, I remember things a little bit better, and I appreciate it so much more going through it again. I plan to do a couple more rereads of like childhood favorites and other just basic favorites over the past years. So yeah. So The Hobbit was really good. Gave that one 4 stars. Why did I give it 4 stars again? I had a reasoning for it. I'm not sure now. I can't remember now the reasoning that I had when I gave it 4 stars. I gave it 4 stars. Not sure why, but I did. And next up on the list, we have Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix, which is the 5th book in the Harry Potter series for those of you who have not read it. Definitely, this one was probably one of my favorite books in the series, mainly because of Harry's character development, to see him grow up and to see him experiencing all these different things. The constant sass with Professor McGonagall towards Professor Umbridge was just the absolute best. I aspire to be Professor McGonagall's level of sass because she was just so amazing in this book, and just all of the action that happened in here and like the progress of the story and everything was just so great. I have to say that this one is so far one of my favorites of the entire series so far. But we'll see what happens in the other ones. It's just, you know, like the first few were so lighthearted, you know, we had some bad things going on, but it wasn't too bad. And then now, like, things are slowly starting to progress. Like, Harry's experiencing more deaths and stuff like that, like deaths from his loved ones and like people that he cares about. So it's just like, oh, poor Harry. And like, I don't know, just the character development with Hermione and with Ron and like all the other characters, it's just so awesome to see, and the friendship between them is just so amazing. So I am definitely, it's bittersweet coming to the end of this series now. That's the main reason why I haven't read the next one in the series, but I'm hoping to get to that in May. Next up, we have Caraval, or Caraval, however you want to say it, by Stephanie Garber, and I also don't have that book. Most of these books I don't have with me because I've just been borrowing them from the library, because they're all books that I don't own, but I don't have the money to buy all the books, so then I have to borrow them from the library, which is fine because the library is amazing. But anyway, that Caraval was very, very well done. The way that the story progressed throughout the book was fantastic. The magical world of Caraval was just, it kept me on the edge of my seat. Like, you never knew what was going to happen because it was such a magical, different, like, unique world where it was just, you never knew what was going to meet you around the corner, basically, and like what would happen next. The ending, I know a lot of people will agree with me on this. They weren't really big fans of the ending. I didn't mind it as much as some people did. Some people were like really disappointed in the ending. And it was a little bit disappointing. Same thing as Obsidio. It kind of built up to this amazing thing and you expected it to be so much more than it was. And it was just kind of, oh, kind of feeling. There is a second one coming out this year, the sequel to Caraval, which is called Legendary. And so I'm hoping that it's going to improve in the second one, that it's going to explore the world a little bit more and explore the, basically explore Legend, who is this mysterious character that we still don't know much about. And so yeah, it's going to be great. I'm excited for it, but I do understand people's like, about the ending. So that's why I gave it 4 stars. It was well written, but it was just, the ending definitely could have been much better. And then another one of my very favorite reads of this year is One of Us is Lying by Karen M. McManus. And oh my goodness, this book, you guys. You need to read it. If you like slightly thriller, whodunit, young adult fiction, you will love this book. I kid you not, it kept me on the edge of my seat. Even though I figured out whodunit in like the middle-ish or even before the middle of the book, it was still so amazing to see the other, like the characters in the book find out, like, to like put all the pieces together and figure everything out. And just the relationship development of the characters and to see them interact and like all this, just finding out their secrets that they're hiding and like all these different things. It was just so good. I immediately wanted to reread it after I finished it, because now I feel like after reading it, I'm like, okay, now I could go back and kind of like pick up all the little things I didn't pick up before. But yeah, so if you haven't read that one yet, you should definitely do so. And then the next one I read, I actually do have on my shelf, and it's been on my shelf for a while and has been waiting for me to read it, is Blood of Wonderland by Colleen Oakes, and it is part of the Queen of Hearts series. This is the first one, that's the one I just read. And it was very well done. Although the first one is still better in my opinion. This is kind of like, Blood of Wonderland was kind of like a midway thing. It's like, okay, you had the start, you had the origin, and then you have to have the filler, and then the third one is gonna have like the grand ending, like the major action kind of thing. So this is like the middle thing of like, I don't know how to explain it, but basically it's just a lot of character development and the main character discovering who she is and what she's meant to be and all these different things. It had 2 insanely major plot twists that I was like, oh my goodness. The first one was like, okay, yeah, this makes sense. It wasn't like, it was shocking, but it wasn't like quite as shocking. And then the one at the very end, I was like, excuse me, like what is happening right now? I was so shocked. One of the like major plot twists I've ever seen in my entire life. Like, I don't know if anyone else who's read this book saw it coming, but I definitely didn't. It was way out of the blue, and the book ended on such a cliffhanger. I'm like, oh my goodness, why did I wait so long to read this book? I bought it at the beginning, or it wasn't so long, I guess, but I bought it at the beginning of the year because I loved the first one so much, and then at first I only bought the first one off of Book Outlet, and then I liked the first one so much I decided to get the second one, but then I didn't really feel like reading it once I got it, so now it took a while for me to actually get the motivation to read it. But I'm so glad I did because it was really good, and now I feel like I really need to get the third one. Not sure when I will, but hopefully I'll get to it soon. It's a great series. I gave this one 4 stars though because of the fact it was a little bit slow paced. It just, I don't know, in my opinion, didn't deserve 5 stars, but like to other people it might. But yeah, you know, it was a good story. It was good. And then the next one on my list is actually a graphic novel that is online, but it is like a full-length book. It has over 200 like pages, and it's on, if you guys are familiar with the app Webtoon, you can find all kinds of graphic novels on there, just online comics, basically anything of that sort. And this one was written by Michelle Phan, who is a YouTuber. Well, she's not doing YouTube anymore, but who was a YouTuber that I followed for many years, like so many years. And I knew for the longest time that she had started doing an online comic or graphic novel, and I just never got around to looking it up or whatever. So the other day I looked it up and I found it on Webtoon, which is an app I had been using for a little while already. So that was awesome, and it's called Helios Femina. The artist is Avery Oda, and the writer is Michelle Phan. And this story was so good. It was beautiful. The color palette was just, oh, it was breathtaking. It happens in space. So there's just so many beautiful, like, skyscapes that are happening, all the stars, planets. You guys know I'm crazy about that stuff. And it was just so well done. But what topped it for me was that on Webtoon, people can add music per chapter, basically, to their comics, so that it kind of, like if they have music that they think would be dedicated to like this certain scene, the readers can actually listen to it while they're reading the chapter. So it's amazing. It was so great. And like for this comic, Michelle Phan has actually custom made each individual soundtrack for each chapter, and there's like sound effects in there, like say if there's a waterfall somewhere, you'll hear water rushing. If there's like a battle scene, it'll pick up in pace, and like all these different things. It was just so awesome to have that soundtrack accompanying you like while you're reading, that it was so good. I still only gave it 4 stars because I found that certain parts of the story could have been bettered and could have been a little bit more explained. I know graphic novels, they're very quick and to the point, like I get that. But I just feel like even then there were certain parts that they could have elaborated on a little bit better. But still, regardless, it was very well done, so it deserves 4 stars. And the way it ended on such a major cliffhanger, I almost had a panic attack for a second. I'm like, okay, where is the second one? I need the second one right now, because I looked for it then on Webtoon and I couldn't find it. I'm like, oh God, please, no, I don't want this to end like this, because it was so crazy. So I actually went to Michelle Phan's Instagram and I realized I wasn't following her, so that's why I didn't know about this. But she, on there, she mentioned that the second one is in progress. So I was like, oh, okay, good. Whew, it's coming out later this year, so it's like I don't have to wait too long for it, or otherwise I'll be like, okay, I need to know what happens to my characters here, come on. And then while we're on the topic of graphic novels, I have recently decided that I want to read more of them, so I went to the library and I got like a lot. I got a ton of graphic novels. I looked up a bunch on Goodreads to see which ones had good reviews, which ones would be worth checking out. And then I also just went to the library and just found some that had a cool art style or just sounded interesting. So the first one that I got from the library, I actually got this one from the library on Saturday, and I read it that night yet. It's Through the Woods. It is stories by Emily Carroll, and if you don't like creepy monster stories, you won't like this. But it's basically 5 different stories about what does it say on the back? 5 mysterious, spine-tingling stories follow journeys into and out of the eerie abyss. Come, take a walk in the woods and see what awaits you there. So it was very... a lot of the stories, they end on a very like, oh my goodness kind of note, where it makes you think like, could this be real? Like, do I have to be careful now as to when I go outside in the dark or something? Like those kinds of things, right? It makes you a little bit paranoid. But they're very well drawn. Like the art style is very, very interesting. It's very unique. And I think that the stories were very well written. So I gave that one, what did I give that one? 5 stars. And then the other one that I finished yesterday is Nimona by Noelle Stevenson, and I know many of you out there already have heard of this book. For those of you that don't, it is, yeah, just a graphic novel, but it is one complete story. It's not separate stories like Through the Woods is. So it says here, let me see. Nimona is an impulsive young shapeshifter with a knack for villainy. Lord Ballister Blackheart is a villain with a vendetta. As sidekick and supervillain, Nimona and Lord Blackheart are about to wreak some serious havoc. Their mission: prove to the kingdom that Sir Ambrosius Goldenloin and his buddies at the Institution of Law Enforcement and Heroics aren't the heroes everyone thinks they are. Nemesises, dragons, science, symbolism, all these and more await in this brilliantly subversive, sharply irreverent epic from Noelle Stevenson, based on her award-winning webcomic. So yeah, this is awesome. The art style is really fun. It's so funny, but it also really got me in the feels a couple times, and it was just, it was so good. It definitely deserved 5 stars. But that is it for my March-April book wrap-up. Those are all the books that I did read during those 2 months. And a couple of books that I have planned for May is The 1000th Floor by Catherine McGee. And then I also have Scythe by Neil Shusterman. And then I have a couple of other graphic novels here. I have the first and second volumes of Pretty Deadly. This one is by DeConnick, Rios, Belair, and Cowles. And then I have this one, which is a graphic novel, Outlaw, the Legend of Robin Hood by Tony Lee, Sam Hart, and Archer Fujita. And then I also got a signed copy of The Serpent King from Indigo Chapters a couple of days ago for only like $3. So I'll probably end up reading that one at some point or another. And the one I'm currently working on is A Monster Calls. It is a novel by Patrick Ness, inspired by an idea from Siobhan Dowd and illustrated by Jim Kay. And this one so far I feel like is going to touch me very, very close to home because it has to do with a boy's mother who is battling cancer and his denial that she is going to be gone soon, and I can definitely relate to that very, very well. So we'll see. I posted this one on my Instagram stories and I asked if people had any thoughts about it, and like so many people sang its praises, saying how amazing it is. So I am looking forward to finishing that. And then another one that I also found at the library is the Mortal Instruments, a graphic novel, which is a story by Cassandra Clare, and this one is art by Cassandra Jean. And I'm not really interested in reading the Mortal Instruments, like the actual books, but the graphic novel I could get into. And if you guys have any thoughts on how this one compares to the actual story, let me know. Because, I mean, like, I'm intrigued by the story somewhat, but I just don't feel like I would have the patience to go through the entire series. So, yeah, I'm gonna go with the graphic novel and see what I think about it. But anyways, that is all for you guys today. I hope you're having a lovely, lovely day, and I hope you guys will have a wonderful week. Let me know in the comments down below what you are reading or what you have read in the past 2 months, or even just in April. And let's just, you know, think about the fact that it is May. Tomorrow. Oh my goodness, this year is just going by way too fast. But anyways, I hope you guys have a lovely, lovely day. Never stop dreaming or shooting for the stars, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye! And